Hi everyone! Today I'm going to be coloring in this book, Wonderland Animals Adult Premium Coloring Book, with artwork featuring Chiaki Karamomo. And I believe I purchased this from Etsy. I know I've seen it on Etsy, so I think that is where I got it from. And I'm calling this video copycat because that is a term usually associated with copying someone. I was never naturally gifted at drawing, so I relied on copying others to learn. When I see something that just really stands out and I like it, it usually never occurs to me to change that. I like the challenge of trying to recreate that image. I was really drawn to these illustrations, the colors, and just the whimsical nature of the animals and settings I just thought were so fun. This style of book has the artist images in the front. These are thumbnails, and then you have a more full page image. And then after this section comes the line art, and the line art matches really well with the colored images. And in some cases, I think it would be nice to have the actual image on this page here. That way it'd just be easy to reference. But on the other hand, if it was over here, then picking mediums that might not bleed through, might be a challenge. So this way you don't have to worry about worrying about images going through on the artist copy. These are, at least the line art, it looks like, are perforated. So if you wanted to take them out and then put them right next to that image, then you can do that too. I'll probably just flip back and forth. Okay, so I've decided to do this little ferret here, and I'll find the line art. Here it is. And I thought this would be the best start in this book because it seemed kind of less intimidating than some of the other ones. There's no background and there's just less stuff on the page. But I thought it was this sweet little ferret or weasel. It's got a little pearl necklace and a little collar with some string there, and then you have these overlapping stems of flowers, and it looks like an olive branch, maybe some eucalyptus. Yeah, so I just thought that was a really sweet page. And then yes, here is the colored version. So I'm going to take you through my process, picking the mediums and colors that I think will best match the image, and then applying them to the color page. Okay. Let's get started. Okay, so let's first take a close look at the original artwork. And I'm kind of looking at the base of this little ferret, and I'm noticing it has some variations of like some brighter whites and like very light cream shades, kind of as an undertone below all those fur lines. So I'm thinking instead of using alcohol markers, which would give me more of a solid base, I'm going to use probably like water brush markers, like Tombow, those kinds of brushes. And then looking at the plants here, you can really see more of like a watercolor effect, see the variations in that flower and in the leaves. So I think the water brush markers will give me more of that look. All right, and I picked out my lightest ones that I could find, and I'm gonna test those out and we'll see which one would be the best match for these colors. I'm just doing the little ferret first, and then we can come back and do the plants. I'm going to make some swatches of these light colors and hold them up next to the image and pick the best match from there. I'm swatching the pure ink from the brush and then swatching the washed out or watercolor version down under because the watercolor version will definitely look slightly different than the pure ink. And since I'm wanting this to be more of a watercolor look, I need to be able to see that color. I do have a color chart of all these colors, which I use to initially pick out colors that might work across all brands. This is just nice because you get the freshest color, and being able to compare different brands right next to each other is really nice. All right, so let's start comparing these colors. I think this gray will probably be good for some of these areas here and maybe like over here. And then I'll have to look for some more like yellow browns for down below. But I think for up here, I definitely think the grays will fall more along here. And then let's see, the yellow, like I definitely need more of an off-white, very creamy color. I'm thinking this Ohuhu Y010 will probably be the best. I can get a really light shade, and then the darker one can kind of go along here. But yeah, I can thin it out and get some really light, creamy shades there. Yeah, I think these are going to be too dark. Let's see, this one, I might hold on to this one for this area. Oh, and look, it matches pretty good with this like color here. So I think I'll put this one away. All right, so I decided to use this little ceramic dish over that little plastic sheet I was using for my palette. I'll be able to see the colors easier on here, and I also took a picture of the artist image so I can have that right next to me. So starting out with the Ohuhu Y010, I'm going to build the fur's undercoat. The top half is mostly a light off-white, slight yellow hue, and towards the bottom there are a few more colors layered around. When I first apply the color, I try to remember to place it near the shadow lines or on the edge. It's always darker when you first grab that color, and then it lightens up. I'll pop up the artist image every so often so you can see the comparison. All right, this is Ohuhu BG020. It's a light cool gray, and I'm concentrating this shade more along the bottom where you see the artist fur lines. I'm also trying to apply the color in short brush strokes and following the fur direction. This is the Tombow 990 for this collar. Starting it out as a wash, and then I'll apply the brush to the wet surface for darker texture spots, and then I'll blend it with the water brush. Adding some additional colors around the bottom edge, I'm looking for a darker gray and a warmer neutral. Also, it looks like there is a bit of green poking around too, so these I will just kind of layer and play around the bottom edge. This Tombow 990 color is also a good layering color for this area. All right, I'll pull this up a little bit closer so you can see all those different color variations. All right, and then I also pulled a Tombow 761. I think this will be a good shade for the nose and for the ears. All right, so I'm gonna start with that Tombow 990. And then I'm also putting in this, the brand is Artist Loft, it's a Michaels brand. And I would say on the scale, I would say it's more of a medium shade of gray. And I kind of reference the original picture, but I really just kind of slap the color around here and there, kind of mixing up these lights and darks. Doesn't have to be perfect because this will be camouflaged by the fur brushstrokes later on. All right, this color is Tombow in 57. And this green is Tombow 312. So there's just a few little places where I see this green poking through, and the back legs of the front and back are kind of a really dark green. So I'm just going to start my layer on that. All right, adding a little bit more of this Tombow in 57, this kind of darker neutral shade. I'm going to add a little bit around the eyes and a few more little fur strokes around the face. And this is that Tombow 761, a light pink for the nose and for inside the ear. Now to pick all the greens for the leaves. I'm adding a new brand to the mix here. This is ZSCM, same kind of water brush with dual ends, and then the small end is actually a very fine tip, which will be nice for all those very thin stems that are on the page. Okay, so here are my greens. I think the leaves really show the watercolor look. So each plant leaf will have kind of its own main color, but then I will add small amounts of the other colors for that watercolor look. All right, using the Tombow 312, I'll do a few of these stems on camera and then I'll finish off camera. All right, I'm gonna slide the original picture over just so you can see the different colors and variations of lights and darks in the leaves. All right, and this is a light grayish blue, Ohuhu MG030. All right, and then this is a ZSCM marker. No factory numbered issued for these markers, but I would put it in a medium warm green. And same thing, this one is just a shade, one or two darker. All right, this green is a Tombow 192. I've swatched a bunch of colors for the flowers. I had a hard time with the upper yellow flowers. I may need to use some gray to kind of help tone down the brightness of those and maybe some of the pinker flowers. But overall, I think they're pretty good matches. I finished the leaves and I did add some darker gray, almost black to those olives. I have to say I'm really impressed with the paper in this book. Normally the colors soak up so fast you can't move them around, but they actually did very well and it allowed those colors to really look like watercolors. Even using the marker directly on the page and then using the water to help kind of spread it around worked great. All right, this is Ohuhu B070, a light blue for this little flower, and also some in these petals. Also mixing in some Tombow 620, a light purple. All right, these are the flowers I struggled to find a match. I've settled on a ZSCM marker. It's kind of a greenish gold color. Watered down, it's not too bright, but I am gonna take a light gray and kind of tone that down. I'm seeing several variations of pinks, corals, and almost orange in these flowers, so I'll just dab in a variety and hope for the best. So I'll be using Ohuhu R040, a Tombow 762, a a ZSCM pink and a light orange, and a Tombow 847, which is a dark red, but I'm really watering it down. I'm also going to use some of that gray to kind of tone everything down. And for this tulip, I'm using a Tombow 673 as kind of my base layer, and then kind of splotching in some of this light purple 620. All right, and then using a very watered down yellow for these flowers and adding a little bit of gray in some of those darker shadow areas. All right, zooming in on the pearl necklace, you can really see all the different colors. I'm seeing teals, purples, pinks, and yellows. I'm probably not going to be able to do that detailed work in these little pearls, but I can add a few of those colors, and then I can do some white highlight with Posca. All right, I guess I cut out where I added the Posca, but you get the idea. I did add the reflection dots. Okay, so for the fur lines, I'm using Prisma color pencils, and I just went through and picked the best matches to my marker colors, and then sharpened them to a very nice point. All right, so I'm using a Prisma 914, that's the light yellow, a Prisma 1093, that's my light tan color, a light gray Prisma 1063, and a kind of dark warmer gray Prisma 1056. All right, I'm actually starting with the darker color this time and working in those little sharp strokes. Oh, and I'm also gonna fill in the eye a little bit blacker. But yeah, and then I'll work to the lighter gray and then the tan and then the light yellow. So kind of opposite of what I did in the beginning, starting with the lightest shade and then going to the dark. All right, almost done with this fur. I think it's looking pretty good, and just making sure I'm really sharpening my pencils and wanting them really sharp to get those really fine lines. The tail has the darkest line, so but then I'm trying to work up some of these lighter shades and blend them in with the darker ones too. All right, so I'm going to take out the brightness of the green in the legs here, and I'm just going to go over it very lightly with this dark gray. This still allows the color to shine through, but I can get a little bit more depth with the gray. All right, I'm gonna darken up these little flowers here with a light blue, and I might add a little bit of blue into these leaves here, and a little bit of yellow too. All right, looking and comparing with the original, I think I need to go a little bit darker on this collar. So I am going to use a Prisma, let's see, it is a 941, and then I'm also going to be blending it with the Prisma 1093. And just doing it really lightly, adding some little texture spots here and there. And yeah, and then just blending with that 1093. And it still wasn't quite dark enough for me, so I'm going to just go over it with this marker here, which is the Tombow 990. And yeah, I think that makes it a little bit darker. And you can also use your blender brush. This is just a Tombow colorless blender, and just rub that all over, kind of blending the color pencil and the water brush marker together. I thought I had put the Posca on the pearls earlier, but I hadn't. So here I'm just adding a couple little dots inside each of those pearls. All right, this little ferret is complete. Here are my final thoughts. First off, I think I did a pretty good job with making a good copy of the original. It's definitely not 100% perfect, but I think it's pretty darn close. Seeing them side by side on this video, I may go back and darken up the collar. I could also probably darken up that blue flower by the head, but on the other hand, I really like the watercolor effect in the petals, so I might just leave it too. I'm pretty happy with how the fur turned out. That is usually not my specialty, and I love how the leaves turned out too. It really has that watercolor effect. Again, really impressed with the paper. Also, no bleed through on the other side, so that's good. I just really love the simplicity of the page, and the colors are so pretty. Just a very sweet page. Okay, that's it for my copycat video. Hope this helps you on your creative journey. Thanks for watching.